I'm finishing up a bench and I have this hole on the left that has this weird round out because the drill bit wandered, and this knot I want to cover. So I went from this to this. So watch to the end and I'll show you how I did it. So here's the knot in the hole I was telling you about. The rounded out thing on the left and this knot. It's kind of big. And I want to do something about this, so I'm thinking about a half heart type of thing, maybe a teardrop with a big radius on the backside to give us some character. I don't know. Let's give it a try. See what happens. So I'll go to my wood pile, look and see what I've got. Some walnut be a good contrast. 4/4 sun, sounds good. So I'll cut it to length, cut it to thickness, put it on the bandsaw, and try it out. If I put it in the right place, it'll cover both the knot and the hole. And it's alright, but it's not quite moving me. I don't know. But it is a workbench, so maybe I can use a plane. That might be kind of neat. I can have a silhouette of my plane on my bench. If I put it in the right place, it'll cover both the knot and the hole. So that might work out. I'm going to give this a try, I think. That'd be a better option. So back to the walnut again and make my trace. So I have my line to cut to. And once again, I cut it to length and to thickness. I go to the bandsaw, cut that out, and I have the silhouette of my plane. Looks good. Some rasping, some sandpaper to get rid of the rough edges and smooth out the details. And then I like to use my inlay to draw the line on the surface I'm working in. That way I can get the fine detail I need. Going to the router now, I'm going to cut inside the line. I'm going to come about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch away. My depth of cut here is going to be a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch because my inlay is 1/4 of an inch. So I want to make sure that I go just a little bit less. That means when the inlay is in place, it'll be proud of the bench, which is what I want, because then I can plane the whole thing flush with the surface of the bench. Just make sure to follow the lines and go details. And I didn't follow my lines, so this area here was a big chunk that I just routed away, along with that front edge step that you can see where the router wasn't firm in the base, so that was something I had to go back and fix. So now I have a couple repairs to make before I can do anything else. Such is life. So I got a couple pieces that match the bench top, and I'm going to cut detail part at an angle because the bench is also at an angle, and I want the grain to match. So that means I have to match that angle detail right here. That's a straight part that I chiseled out, so I need a matching part. So I'm going to score a line and then a couple clamps to hold everything in place because small parts are hard to work with. Then a few saw cuts and I've got my patch. So back to the bench. Now I can put it in place, and you can see that I want to move it forward as much as I can because I want to make that thick right up there next to the knob, and it's fitting all right, and you can see the grain lines are matching, which is what I needed. So glue it up and move on. This time I'm gonna use the router again to remove all the waste and be careful of my lines. Now it's time to clean things up with a chisel, especially here at the knob. I want to make sure that the surface is square and the bottom is flat. And once that's done, I can put the inlay over my cut. I want to make sure that my fine detail lines are where I want them to be. This is kind of like the final phase before we move forward. It has to be right. Now, time to glue. So I'm going to spread some glue out because this is that stepped area part that I have to repair. And I've cut a piece of maple, the right thickness, the right width, and the right length, along with a little fine finessing. Doesn't have to be exact. It's never going to be seen. So then go ahead and put glue on the entire area. Make it smooth. And now the inlay goes in. At this point I want to make sure everything's lined up good. It's going to be good and firm. A little bit of hand pressure to make sure it's good. And then a little bit of a hammering in place. I'm just going to go light at this point, nothing heavy. Then I can drive it home. You want to make sure you don't crack the inlay before, but now that I've got the board, I can just make sure it's going to be set. This is a point of no return. That is not coming out. Now I got a little bit more of a small repair to do down by the knob. So I got a small tiny piece that I've cut to match. Plenty of glue. Push it in place and just let the glue do its job. After it's cured, I get a good surface. Just going to plane it flush with the bench top. At this point, I want to avoid all mistakes, so I'm just taking small shallow passes, small shavings, nothing big. Don't want to chip it or anything like that. So here I am. I have my inlay, but now it just kind of looks like a big dark area. I'm not caring for that. So if I put the plane over it, I can see there's a handle hole right here. I think that might be a nice detail. So I'm going to put something in there. So as before, I cut out my inlay and I drew the lines. I'm going to bore you with all that stuff again. A chisel to do more detail on the lines. Being careful with the router to stay inside. Back to the chisels to make sure everything's clean and flat and square. And then test the inlay. Looks alright. So put the glue in place, get the bottom, get the walls, set the inlay in place and tap it, and then drive it home. There we are. Let it cure, plane it flush, and I'm done. At this point I'm just going to use a couple coats of tung oil. I'll put this one on, boot it out, let it dry overnight, and now put a second coat on, smooth it all out. After about 5 or 10 minutes, I'll wipe off the excess again, let it dry overnight. And I'm done. There's my inlay with the hole in the handle. So it turned out well. Thanks for watching.